Hi, this is Lucas Twitch Disangro, star of Monster Factory on Apple TV, as well as a pro wrestler at the world famous Monster Factory, and you're drinking at Moe's.
This is Drinkin at Mo's, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's all so mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinkin at Mo's, where we don't quit. Drinkin at Mo's, that's where it's at, like a power bomb. We hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, know it's a scream.
You know, I've always said here at Drinkinatmos, just because it says drinking at Moe's does not mean it has to be alcoholic. So I'm happy to say Drinking at Moe's is sponsored by Prince Nana Coffee. The exact same guy you see every week on Dynamite, on Collision. Yes, he has his own coffee, and it's freaking delicious. They don't even roast those beans until you've placed your order. And you might be telling me, hey, Big Mo, I'm more of a tea guy. They got you covered there too. Use the referral link in the description of this video. And let's get you dancing like Prince Nana with Prince Nana Coffee. All right, everybody, welcome Drinking a Mo's Big Mo here. Wow, allergies kicking my ass. Today, I'm excited to have with me, out of the Monster Factory, Twitch. How you doing?
I am doing great, Big Mo. How are you doing?
Oh, I can't complain. We're a little over right about a week out now as of recording when AEW made their Omaha debut, and I was actually there.
Very nice. So that was the street fight between Moxley and
Yep. I was third row right by the entrance. I got a clip of that spot of them trying to take the board out. That is literally reached like 11,000 views in just over 24 hours.
it's look, I'm a big fan of both. Funnily enough, when I first started out, we had Les Thatcher, um, who, if you aren't familiar with, he is one of the trainers of John Moxley, as well as Sammy Callahan, Nigel McGuinness, a good portion of wrestlers that came out of the Ohio area. But I never did it purposely. But the running gag at the Monster Factory is that John Moxley might be my father. Is the joke? Um, I never do it on purpose. It's always like,
Give me 1 second here.
it's all good.
My fucking there. All right, we're back. Damn
So,
political calls.
I I never did it on purpose. Um, I just naturally, I guess, would instinctively act like, at the time, Dean Ambrose, to a point where we had Les Thatcher in for a seminar, and he goes, "I know that you're not doing it on purpose, but every time I see you talk, I'm just like, he's just like fucking Dean. I don't. Next time I run into John, I'm gonna have to go. Does Tourette's happen to run in your family? Because you might have a son that you don't know about."
That's funny.
Yeah,
That is funny.
very funny.
But yeah, that show was it I think before that particular show and the clips that I've posted from it, I think I was sitting at just shy of like 418, 419 subscribers on YouTube. I'm now up to 435.
All right, making a dent. Very nice.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, first thing I like to start off with everybody is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you deciding to make the leap into the business.
So, what got me started as a fan was I was kind of a late bloomer when it came to being a fan, which even by those standards, like I started watching when I was maybe I'd say going into fifth grade, which I know a lot of people they always like, oh, I started watching my grandfather or this or when I was like 3 years old, I saw it on my parents were not, or my mom was not a big fan of pro wrestling. And I think it was because my brother watched for a little bit, but that was like on the heels of the Attitude Era.
Mm,
So my mom, for all she knew, pro wrestling was just women in like scantily clad clothing and men
yeah.
flipping people off and hitting people with chairs, and she just didn't want me watching that.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
so I started getting into it on
Words
funnily
are
enough,
hard.
yeah, words are very hard. Funnily enough, I got into it through the video games and the action figures because my
Mm,
friend who lives right down the street, like around the corner, I would go over to his house and he would always have these wrestling figures. So we would play with the figures, and then he got me into playing the video games. And I pretty much gave my mom like an elevator pitch of like it's TV PG now. It's not like it was back, and I'm like in fifth grade doing this. Like it's not like it was before. It's
yeah.
changed, baby. Please take me back. I'm not the same, right? And my favorite wrestler was Jeff Hardy, and I got into wrestling. I'd say at a great time to be a Jeff Hardy fan. Around 2008, 2009. And I was only allowed to watch Friday Night SmackDown because Raw was on a school night, and
Mm,
Jeff Hardy got drafted to SmackDown. And I just, everybody loved John Cena. And I'm a big fan of John Cena as well, but Jeff Hardy was like my guy because, people call me Twitch because I have Tourette's. That was a name kids used to call me in school. Wasn't necessarily one of endearment, but I was always a weird kid. And Jeff Hardy was just so himself, and like artistically, I'd say I gravitated towards him.
yeah.
He would come out with these with like the cut up armbands and the
Yeah.
face paint. And he'd just start doing like it was, and he would do the craziest stuff. Like I lived vicariously through Jeff Hardy on Friday nights, and then I stopped watching wrestling for a little bit. And what got me into the business and ultimately, what saved my life was CM Punk and the pipe bomb.
Mm,
And seeing that, like a lot of I've if you haven't watched the series or if you haven't heard me say this story before, then or if you have, I'm sorry, if you have, well, I'm gonna do it again. So
hey.
but I was bullied a lot for multiple reasons. And I always felt like I was just going to be that weird kid with Tourette's and feel like I was ever going to be anything else. On June 27th, 2011, I woke up fed up and I was going to swallow everything in my pill cabinet that morning or that night and pray to God I didn't wake up the next morning. And I was that's 2011. That's summer from going from seventh grade into
Yeah.
eighth grade. So I'm like 12, 13 years old. Nobody should ever be.
Oh, I completely agree with you. Kids at that age should not be going, like, nobody should be going through stuff that gets them to even think about a point like that.
Yeah,
But
and like
especially little kids.
yeah. So and here's some more backstory. Is I was put on antidepressants at 7 because life was going great for me at that point. Uh, I have OCD, ADHD, Tourette's, obviously, and found out I'm on the spectrum. I found that out after the fact. I graduated from school, which could have come in handy when I was in school, but we don't need to get into all that.
Yeah.
I'm not Rain Man. I'm Ring Man, as I always like to make. Like, because I'm a fucking daywalker. I'm the Blade of autistics, where it's like you're just like you're like you know. Which my favorite is like, oh, you don't seem that autistic. It's like watch me call a match. If you come to the back, watch me put a match together, and you'll be like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Get this motherfucker revved up about pro wrestling or stand up comedy, and just wind him up and watch him go. It's
Oh, I can get it. Like I know.
um, but you know, yeah, that like ultimately the pipe bomb. Because here's another guy, CM Punk, who like and I remember going through that day. I was like, I just want to have one good day, and I remember it being like a really good day for all intents and purposes. Like, there's a comic book shop I went to up the street that I I live right around the corner from. I went up the street, went there, hung out. I got to hang out with my best friend that day, and I got to hang out with my brother for a little bit. And I remember staying up um for Raw, which it was June. It was school year was over, so it wasn't a school night,
Yeah.
and I'd stopped watching wrestling for a little bit because I didn't want to give kids another reason to pick on me. Especially like, look, John Mulaney really hit the nail on the head when he was like, eighth graders are the meanest people on the planet. Um,
Oh yeah.
that joke hits so close to home for me. For like, it's a funny joke, it's an accurate joke, and it just hits too close to home. Because like they will make fun of the things in an accurate what, like they'll get to the thing that you don't like about you the most. Um,
Yeah.
but I remember flipping through the channels and seeing the TV guide, and in a fucked up way of thinking, going, oh, they're not going to judge me for it now. Click, and I put on Monday Night Raw, and the main event, R-Truth and Cena in a tables match. Punk costs him the match, sits down on the stage, does the pipe bomb, and it wasn't like just a wrestling promo to me. Because Punk, like Jeff Hardy, this is a guy that was not he wasn't,
The stereotypical like
yeah.
muscle bound like her.
Even on that roster, right? Punk stood out like a sore thumb. He was so different, and
Yeah.
he was so unapologetically himself. Somebody that like me, like I marched to the beat of my own drum, and it alienated me from a lot of my peers, and it bothered a lot of my peers when I was growing up. And Punk was just someone that what he said, it didn't come off to me like just a wrestling promo. It came off as a guy that was fed up with how he was being treated, and instead of just walking away like I was kind of going to do, he sat down on a stage in Las Vegas and he unloaded on them. He gave them a piece of his mind, and he, in this act of defiance of like, I'm leaving with the WWE Championship, but before I leave, I'm going to tell you all
Mm.
why I can't stand any of you. I'm going to tell you why I'm leaving.
Oh yeah.
And that gave me, and it didn't necessarily just get better right away, but it gave me like a reason to keep going. Like if I ever get the chance, right, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be a professional wrestler. Um, and then flash forward to 2015. No, 2004. Sorry, 2014. 2013, 2014, I think I went to my first Monster Factory show with Ferran Derry, who is now the play-by-play commentator. But I started out with Ferran for WBC. I interned at his radio show, WBCB, Pro Wrestling Weekly. And I remember asking, like, well, what are you up to later tonight? And he goes, oh, I'm going to this Monster Factory show. I'm like, oh, who's on the card? And he goes, well, Blue Meanie and Colt Cabana are going to be there. And, I recognize Blue Meanie because, I'm from the Philly area. So there's
Yeah.
always talk about, whenever you're talking about pro wrestling, there's always going to be talk about ECW.
Yeah.
And Blue Meanie was always just a name that I recognized. And then Colt Cabana I knew of because of Punk, and because Punk shouts him out in the promo.
Shopping out in the pipe bomb. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
I went with him to that show, and there was just a vibe I got from that place of like it didn't. I'd been to like maybe one or two indie shows prior with Ferran, but this one just felt different. Like the place just felt special. Um, and I'm like, this is my shot.
Yeah.
Um, and it took like I'd say about a year of me like going to shows to see, like
Yeah.
to realize like yeah, I'm definitely gonna do this. I can definitely do this. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. And I remember sitting down with my parents at dinner, and I was expecting there to be a fight, you know,
Yeah.
not even like a fight. Not that I wanted there to be a fight, but I didn't expect them to be as um accepting as I thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
But I think they knew how much it meant to me. They didn't. It's funny because I didn't tell my mom about. Well, I didn't tell my parents about the pipe bomb thing until like years after, even after I decided I was going to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
It just was too painful. Like I'm very close with my mom, and my parents have always looked out for me. Like my problem was never that I never had a bad home life. My social life was just the drizzling shits. Um, so I was always really close with my mom, and I didn't think that I needed to talk about it with her. I
Yeah.
ended up, until eventually I felt like, nah, she should know. But I just didn't want to. I just didn't want her.
It's a tricky situation.
Yeah, because like even then knowing like I can't tell her this because like it's that song Adam's song by Blink 182. So
Yep.
there's that line, right? When he goes, "Please tell mom this is not her fault." And that line always fucks with me because it is that thing of like when you're feeling that way, um it's never about what other people could have done, right? As much as like somebody could tell you, I'm doing this because of you, and it's still not really going to be your fault. Like you could have contributed to it, or you could have stopped it, but ultimately the decision is on me to
Yeah.
do that at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just it's what it is.
Yeah.
Like there's some people, right, that you can save, and there's some people that you can't. And I've had a good amount of people in my life clock out early, whether it was intentional or not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you still get angry, you still get
Oh,
upset, but ultimately, and this is like it's there was an episode of Louie with Doug Stanhope,
hmm.
and it brought out this really, and sorry, this is a really weird right
No,
turn.
but by all means.
But it's this thing of like he's telling Louis that Doug Stanhope plays like an old buddy of Louis that they came up together and stand up, and essentially it's like an alternate universe Doug Stanhope where like he never got successful, he just
Yeah.
kept doing open mics and never really made it, or whatever Doug Stanhope's version of making it is. And he sees Louis, and like they have one last like fun night out on the town together doing open mics and fucking around, and then he's like, well, Louis like, well, what are you gonna do now? And he's like, I'm gonna fucking clock out. And Louis gets upset with him, and he goes, like, what else do I have left going for me? Like, what am I like? What ultimately, like, what really do I have left? What am I
Yeah.
just gonna like bother people for the next? And like, I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment, but I get it.
No, I get
Uh,
it myself.
where it's this thing of like, you don't want someone to end up doing that, but ultimately, it's not your choice to make.
Yeah.
And if you can do something to help someone and stop them from doing that, then do it.
No, yeah.
But
Yeah,
like
totally.
it is this thing of like the older I get and the more, and I'm only 27, but like the more it's happened so many times
Yeah.
that I've just gotten to this point of like, fuck, man, like I'm upset that they're not here anymore. Why'd you have to fucking do it? But ultimately, I do know why they did it. And sometimes that was the only,
That was the only way they saw out of it.
yeah, it was the only respite,
Yeah, no,
reprieve.
I
Um,
totally get you because I know I've made it no secret myself, growing up, you know, like you, my home life wasn't necessarily bad, but socially, the absolute shits. Like,
you can feel it, like the kind of like I had like and still to this day I have like two or three people that I would say are like my close friends,
oh, same.
but a lot of it just felt like finding out pretty young that you can be lonely even in a crowded room is like that's fucked up.
Oh, yeah, totally. It definitely is. It's kind of crazy how that can end up being case. And you know what? We'll get into some of the wrestling stuff, but this is actually I'm excuse me. I'm very much an advocate for mental health awareness and everything, but it is kind of fitting, at least here in the Midwest, talking about this because we actually just had a wrestler take his own life. It kind of took a lot of people by surprise, and it's one of those things that you know some people can hide it pretty well. Others, you never know. Them reaching out might be the one thing that they just need that one person. Although I I'm getting ready to turn 42 actually, and one thing that I've learned, and as much as it sucks, is when somebody has gotten to that point where they've made up their mind, it's almost like there's, as much as you want to be there and help them, there's, if they've gotten to that point where they've already planned it all out, they've done everything, they've like, if
Here
they've gotten to that,
and here's the thing is like there's still people that like they'll plan it out and when it comes crunch time they're still not ready to do it.
yeah,
There's always a chance to save somebody.
that is true.
There is always a chance to save somebody. I'm not saying out of this where it's like, "Oh, I did what I could," right?
Yeah,
Do everything you can. Just know that at the end of the day, if they, you spend so much time helping someone and if they still go through with that, you just need to know that that's not on you.
yeah, that's, you did everything that you could. In the end, it was their decision, but you did what you could to try to help.
And it wasn't that you didn't do enough.
Exactly.
It wasn't that you didn't do enough. It was never that you didn't do enough. You probably did more than they were expecting. And I'm sure that it's this loneliness. It's this feeling.
It's really hard to describe
And
sometimes.
it's hard to understand. And it's hard to understand as it's just, it's an unfortunate thing
Yeah.
that happens.
I know for myself, I haven't had times recently, but growing up, yeah, there were times where it got that dark, but I remember there was always something that snapped me out of it. I don't, some I can't really name because I don't really remember. Other times I just remember having the thought of, I don't want people at my funeral thinking, man, if I only did this or I only did that. I want people, whenever the hell my time comes, to be like, you know what? He did good. He
Yeah.
good life.
It, it it's funny. I've been thinking about that a lot. Um, like I guess what I'm leaving behind. Um,
Yeah.
especially with this show. Um, the amount of people that reached out to me after I shared my story on Monster Factory and said how much like my story inspired them, and even like parents on behalf of kids who are struggling with autism and depression, anxiety, and all this laundry list of shit that I have going on in my head. The amount of parents that reached out on behalf of their kids and said how much they appreciated me sharing my story, like that shit means a lot because you know when I got everybody when they get into wrestling they want to have their like, oh, I want to be world champion, I want to main event WrestleMania, right? And I
Yeah.
want that too, but also not everybody gets to do that in wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm about to hit 10 years in July 6th. July 6th, 2017 was no fuck. Yeah. Yeah, I was 17 years old when I started. So July 6th, 2015. Sorry.
Oh,
Words are hard, so are numbers, even harder. That's why I'm a
oh, yeah.
wrestler. That's why I'm a wrestler and not
Oh,
like I
yeah.
said, I'm
Oh,
not Rain
yeah.
Man, I'm Ring Man.
Oh,
Fucking
yeah. Math in my head, not really the
fucking
best.
um yeah, July 6th, 2015 was the first day of training for me at the Monster Factory.
Nice.
And I realized that ultimately my goal is to get signed, or I want my full-time living to be doing wrestling.
Yeah.
And I know that's not the case, right? I know it's not always the case. um so I just want to do as much as I can before ultimately I can't wrestle anymore.
Yeah.
And I want to have as much fucking fun as possible. And the big thing for me is like if I can be what CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and Jeff Hardy and Jon Moxley were to me and Sami Zayn, if I can be what those guys were to me, then that if that's all I am is someone's inspiration at the end of the day, then I did good. I left something behind because you know, how that's a big thing for me is like, how do you want to be remembered?
Mm-hmm.
I think what snapped me out of it was like, I don't want to be, if I had ended it at 13 years old or however old I was back in 2011, because again, numbers,
Yeah.
my legacy would have been, man, I wish we were nicer to that kid. He was a weird kid. That sucks. And I would have had people crying for me that wouldn't have given two shits about me when I was alive. Um, or maybe they would have, but they just never said anything.
Yeah.
Instead, I want to be that kid. I want to be the kid that, man, he used to be a fucking weirdo, and he still kind of is. But what he's doing is really fucking cool right now. So good for him. All right.
Definitely.
There was a kid, my senior year of high school, and he never like we never had any problems, but I just never fucked with him because he was like one of the popular kids, and I was not. But we never had any issues. I just didn't think he knew who the fuck I was.
Yeah.
But he stops me in the hallway and he goes, "Someone told me you're training to be a pro wrestler. Is that true?" I went, "Yeah." Why? And he goes, "Fuck yeah, dude. That's awesome. That's really fucking awesome." And like that was that like, oh, okay. Oh, fuck yeah, cool. Like
Oh, yeah.
it was I didn't think, oh, we're gonna be besties after that, but it was just like it's nice to
Yeah. One of those moments where it's just like,
just like a really nice it was like a really nice moment. It wasn't expected.
exactly.
He didn't have to say that shit to me.
Yeah. You didn't have to say any of that. Yeah.
That was just like a really cool, it was like, oh, it was like I think I'm gonna be all right.
Oh, yeah. No,
Um
definitely.
but yeah, that's how I got into the Monster Factory. And when I was there, When I started, I was just this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 17-year-old kid who wanted to be a pro wrestler and threw himself into the fucking lion's den. When I started, the coaches were Danny Cage, um, Luis Martinez or Damien Priest,
Mm.
QT Marshall, Blue Meanie, Wild Bill Wiles. Some of the veteran students were Nick Camarado, Matt Riddle, Preston Vance. Um, so I don't think a lot of people expect me to last.
Yeah.
I was in the land of fuck. I was in a pool of sharks. Not like in a not in the sense of like, oh, like sneaky. I just mean like I'm in there with literal behemoths and athletic specimens, and I can quote Patton Oswalt bits. That's my special. That's it's the Patton Oswalt bit about like the self checkout robots are the prison punk robots of
Mm.
like of the robot, the prison punks of the robot world, where it's like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a drone. I can use a missile and track down somebody based on their genetic code. Oh, what do you do? Well, I can defuse bombs for the police station. What about you? I know how much kumquats cost. Rip, bleed. It's like that was me. That was me at the Monster Factory. Just, oh, you're a fucking dork. What are you doing here?
Oh my. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can understand, when you're in there with, people of that stature that like look where they're at now.
I'm like, I found my people. And I'm like, oh no, these people are a lot fucking bigger than I thought they were gonna be. What am I doing?
Oh man. But that just goes to speak like the Monster Factory, they've had a pretty much a who's who of wrestling come through there. And, when people see, Monster Factory trained, it's like that's one of those things that, I've mentioned with there's a few other schools where it's like people see that you're trained there and they're like, oh, I need to pay attention to this guy.
There's something that one of my colleagues, Royal Money, he said about wearing like the green shirt, wearing a Monster Factory shirt. It has you have a reputation to uphold. People are going to respect you for it, and some people are going to try and expose you for it and try and be like, see, he ain't shit, right? There's something about that's. I'd say it's an Ivy. If there's an Ivy League for pro wrestling schools, we're at the top of that list.
Oh yeah, I would definitely have to agree with you there. Now, uh, the thing that I've been, noticing with the Monster Factory is, it's said that what do I got in my notes here? More than a pro wrestling school, we're a community, and
Yeah,
seeing all the stuff that they've got going on from shows to, I see, renting out the Monster Factory. There's like,
we do birthday parties. We do kids summer camp, which is now morphed into a junior program. Um, I mean, not just that facility, like Missy Sampson, very talented women's wrestler at in her time, and now a really great coach. Um, runs her own promotion as well out of the Monster Factory, like Bell to Bell, which is an all women's wrestling promotion. They just had a show this past Saturday, March 22nd.
mm,
um, and the community, like a lot of places like to say that they're a family. I
yeah,
think we're one of the few places that can really back that statement up. Um, the energy, even for like a show, just feels different than like a regular independent wrestling show. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of places that can match the vibe you get. Like there's something in the air changes, you know? Um, Also, Danny does this really great thing every year for for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. He'll do this thing where like, if you don't have a place to go,
Yeah.
um, then Monster Factory will be open and they have food. They just put on wrestling and everybody just hangs out and it's this sense again, it's a sense of community. It's Danny has done such a great and Missy, Danny and Missy have done such a great job of cultivating this place for people to feel safe and
Yeah.
accepted. And that's rare these
Oh
days.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, with
Um
all the craziness going on, yeah, it is nice when you have excuse me, when you have places like that that offer, you know, because I know when I was in the Navy, I think I don't think I made it back for Thanksgiving, but there would always be that sense of community within the military of, there'd always be somebody that would be like, hey, if if you don't have anywhere to go, if you don't have if you can't make it back to your family, hey, we got an open spot. And sounds much like they do something very cool
and
there.
yeah, I feel like there's a lot of similarities between like I mean not just the Monster Factory, but I would say yeah, like with the military and that brotherhood, as they
Yeah.
like to say.
Yeah.
There is this thing of like when there's people that there's people that I still keep in touch with that I haven't seen in person at least in probably like multiple years. But just because we uh you ever watch the show Justified?
Yes, it's been a
So,
little bit, but yeah.
so there's this thing between Raylan Givens, the main character, and Walton Goggins' character. And it's this thing of like, well, we dug coal together. That's that thing of like, we especially with pro wrestling, like if you have when you wrestle someone, I feel like that kind of brings you closer to them as a person. I don't mean this in a weird way, but it can be kind of like an intimate thing, not in a weird way, just in the sense of like I'm trusting you with my
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
I'm putting my life in your hands, and vice versa. So when we get, especially if it's a good match, that brings you closer together. That I feel like that it's one of those. It's like we got through that and it fucking ruled. Like hell yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
No, definitely.
There's people that like that I don't train with at the Monster Factory, but there's people like at the Worldwide Dojo that I had that connection with. Um, yeah, wrestling is like a really cool thing in that aspect. I think some
Oh,
of my favorite people I've met, you know, not from my childhood, I've met through pro wrestling, and like I would consider them some of my closest friends as well.
oh yeah. I can definitely relate there because I mean I got a little bit later of a start watching independent wrestling anyways. I was literally in the Navy in San Diego when I finally, just happened to Google pro wrestling in San Diego and then boom, off to the races I went. But
You ever make it out to PWG?
unfortunately, no. I wanted to, I heard, and the only thing though that from those that I know in the wrestling community still out there, that whenever they ran, you had to be on it if you wanted tickets to
Oh
the
yeah, it was just Pro Wrestling Gorilla was. I want them to come back so bad. That was they probably won't, but that was something fucking special, man. Like
Oh yeah.
that was like that. Like if I had a time machine and could go back to like wrestling, like, it would definitely be like a Ring of Honor event that was at the Hammerstein. Like I probably want to see Final Battle 2006. I want to see that match with Danielson and Homicide live.
Oh yeah.
That fucking match is rules.
Uh,
Um,
I've been lucky enough to have a handful of Ring of Honor people on from everybody from originals like the SATs. I had
yep.
they were like my first like out of state uh people that I've had on that I literally had to get Zoom to record with them. They
Yeah.
were the first. And oh god, who else? Former 6-man tag champ Dutch
Okay.
had him on. Um, I mean, this one's Tony Khan era, but Billy Starks.
She's fucking awesome.
Oh, dude, that match she had with Mercedes Monet at the Dynamite last week, amazing.
And you
And
realize she's been wrestling. She's only like 18, 19. She's been wrestling since she was like 13 years old.
yeah,
And she's only going to get fucking better.
I know, right? And
Um,
then, oh, I was gonna mention one last one for Ring of Honor. Former owner Kerry Silken.
yep.
You
So
know,
like my first foray into non WWE, I'd say non TNA, TNA, same thing, because like that was on
yeah,
TV.
yeah,
My first foray into independent wrestling on that scale was it was two rivalries, and it was two rivalries that made me fucking love Ring of Honor and seek out any tape I could find, anything on YouTube, but just scouring the internet. Where it was the match, it was Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness at Unified in
yeah.
2006, and Kevin Steen and El Generico.
Oh,
Like,
their feud was something else.
and Danielson and McGuinness specifically because I mean also Danielson and Kenta, but like Danielson and McGuinness because that was what made me come up with like that's what made me kind of figure out like, oh, this is the style I'm gonna wrestle.
Yeah,
I can't do power moves. I can't do a lot of high flying shit, but I can do that. I can do that really. And like I became obsessed. I still am with the American Dragon Bryan Danielson. Like a lot of people they give me shit like or bust my balls about like being a Punk and a Moxley mark. I don't think enough people. I want to set the record straight. Danielson, like, that's my fucking guy.
oh,
That's who I want to be like the most, I guess, in the ring. Um, he's just so, like generational talent.
oh,
Um,
for sure.
like to the point, like there's some I really want to wrestle. Like dream match for me would be Jonathan Gresham because
Ah,
that's he's the closest. He's the closest current wrestler, I'd say, to Bryan Danielson in just terms of style, and he's so good.
oh yeah,
Um, but like my foray into that, and then in turn, from discovering the Young Bucks and discovering Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Roderick Strong, Zack Sabre Jr., Kyle O'Reilly, Chris Hero. I mean, Chris Hero's um his run in PWG
mm,
his run in 2011 in general was just he was unstoppable, and
oh,
he's the fucking man as well. Like that I just love that kind of wrestling. It's that very much that smash mouth, like it's fighting spirit. I really like
yeah,
competitive fighting, like leaving it all in the ring. Those kind of matches. I know that that's not always you're not always going to get to do that,
yeah,
and that style doesn't always like work with certain crowds. But any chance I get to have a match like that, I
yeah.
love it. I fucking love it, dude. It
Nice.
like
Now,
just yeah.
no, I get you there. Now, funny enough, you bringing up Kevin Steen or Kevin Owens, as they know him now. Um, I actually, before we get into a couple categories I have here, funny little story I always enjoy telling when it involves him. It actually does involve him. I was with my wife and my side of things, my parents the older of my two sisters, her husband and their kids, we all went to Disney World. And like on the way out, like I forget if I had to tie my shoe or if I had to bend down to pick up something. I don't remember. All I remember is when I got, I was getting back up. I'm slowly looking up, and all of a sudden I see this T-Rex skull. I kid you not, it was Kevin Owens standing like 2 feet from me. And I was like, my jaw dropped. But then I saw he was with his family, and I'm like, as much as I want to say something, I know if I bring attention, then it's just going to be a mob of people, and then he's ruining family time, I guess would be the way.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Kevin Owens gonna hate my guts for the rest of my life.
yeah, and I'm like, I know I saw him. I'm good. Although I will admit, I had to catch up to my wife. I literally ran up and I fanboyed out a little bit. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like a little kid, like, oh my God.
Yeah. I don't blame you. It's Mr. Wrestling right there, man.
No, yeah. And I mean, hell, the match he had with one of my personal favorites, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh my God. Dude, when he hit the package pile driver on Cody, I was like, yeah. Like that, and like when Sammy hit the top rope brainbuster on Gunther at last year's WrestleMania, I think I was cheering louder for that than when he won.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but just like, you know what it is? It's because they've teased that move since they've gotten to WWE, and then they're finally letting him do it. I'm like, do it. Fuck yeah. What a time to be alive.
Oh, yeah. What a time to be a wrestler.
I'm just like The Rock. I'm just like,
yeah. The goosebumps.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, I got two categories here. One's a bit of a name game where I name off some people, you give me quick thoughts on them, and I try to theme it towards the guests as much as possible. This time, Monster Factory. At least, and, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you know more about who's gone through there, but I know that these people were at least advertised on recent Facebook posts, so we're going with it.
Okay.
First one, guy that he's been doing some big things. Damien Priest.
My favorite wrestler when I was going to shows at the Monster Factory, he was Luis the Punisher Martinez was my favorite wrestler. And to see how hard he has worked from when I started to where he is now. I was in the crowd when he cashed in Money in the Bank.
Mm.
And I am so happy for him. And I'm so proud of him for what that's worth. Because like he is an inspiration. He's someone that hard work does pay off.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you just don't give up.
Oh, yeah.
Because the amount of times he was told no by WWE.
Yeah.
And he just kept working, and it made him work harder. Like,
yeah.
will have my undying respect.
Oh, yeah. And like, oh, God, what was it? Him going up against Gunther, and they had the side-by-side pictures of Gunther when he was, over in Europe, and then the way he looks now, and then pictures of Damien Priest, like closer to when I'm wanting to guess when he started to the way he looks now, and holy shit, the body transformation on the two of them, like,
yeah, man,
a perfect example for, man, what you can accomplish if you bust your ass. Now, next up, a guy that I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple times. I actually got him to record a little short video for the channels when I saw him last at Sammy Callahan's promotion Revolver. Steve Macklin.
Every time I've met Steve Macklin, he's had. I wish we had. I wish I've gotten to have more conversations with him. Um, I try not to like bug him when he's at the factory, but he's someone who I have a lot of respect for. He's one of the guys who like was there way before I started. He was signed to WWE. Um, and he's someone who I have a lot of respect for, and I think he's
Yeah,
severely underrated just in
totally.
terms of how his mind and his in ring work. Like he fucking rules.
Oh,
Um,
totally. Oh,
and I want to wrestle him so bad. Like
oh,
he's bucket list for me. Yeah, every interaction I've had with him has been great. I wish I had more interactions with him.
oh
Would
yeah.
be would be what I would say.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I've ran into him a few times at Revolver, and not a bad interaction in the bunch. Not
Yeah.
one. Now, I've not got to meet either of these last two, but I mean, I wouldn't mind getting to meet either one of them. First off, QT Marshall.
Another severely underrated wrestler.
Oh yeah.
Um, there was at one point his nickname was God's gift to professional wrestling. I'd like to think that's true. His mind and like his like he's infuriating how good he is and how much he's not recognized for that.
Oh yeah. Like hell, there was that period of time where, you know, AEW had like kind of slowed down on using him, and he goes down to Mexico and he's just killing it.
He's someone who has stepped in the ring with a lot of top guys
Oh yeah.
and has a lot. I'd say a lot of top guys have a lot of respect for him that fans don't like to realize. You know, I know a lot of fans like to shit on QT, and they just don't know ball. That's the best way to put it.
Oh yeah.
Um, someone again that I want to. I have so much respect for, and I want to wrestle him.
Yeah.
And he was my first on my first match on like a main show. He was my
Yeah.
tag partner. Because
Oh,
he saw me wrestling on like a Friday show and was like, I want to do something with him. So he saw something in me. And I appreciate that.
that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Like he
You know,
he
getting.
deserves a fucking garden, let alone his flowers. He deserves a garden.
Oh yeah. No, most definitely. Very underrated for sure. Now, this next one, not so much Monster Factory related, but I do remember you brought up Worldwide Dojo, and looking up match lists and stuff, I do see that a past guest of mine, synonymous with Worldwide Dojo, is also was on that list of match listings, and well, the guy that was my 300th episode of the 300th episode of the podcast, Cheeseburger.
Piece of shit. No, I fucking love Burger. Burger is hands down one of the nicest, sweetest human beings
Nope.
I've ever met in my life. And he's so giving with like his knowledge, and like you can just tell he has such a pure love for pro wrestling. I was so happy when I got to wrestle him because the match that we had, you know, I'm very much a technical kind of wrestler, and he's someone who can do it all.
Oh yeah.
And he's someone who deserves to be on a bigger stage. But he, like, this is the kind of guy that he is. And So the Worldwide Dojo used to be the Ring of Honor Dojo.
Yeah.
That's the original Ring of Honor dojo. That's where CM Punk and Danielson and all them trained people out of when they were running the school. Um, and there was a point a few years before Ring of Honor went under, before Tony Khan brought it back, where they were moving the dojo down to Baltimore. And essentially, they told Berger to, just let the lease run out of the building. And Berger went, well, there's people that train here that can't afford to move down to Maryland. So what are we going to do about them? And he kind of, on the side, kept the building open and took it over and made his own school out of it. And he's taken in so many students. When the Wrestle Factory went down in 2020, he absorbed those students in, he brought them in, gave them a place to train. Like, there was a time where I was on the outs with Danny and I didn't have a place to train, and I trained at, like, Burger is that the Worldwide Dojo, and Burger will always have a special place in my heart. I'd say very instrumental in my career, almost as much as the Monster Factory, but the Monster Factory will always be like number one for me. And
Oh,
Burger, I fucking love that dude.
oh yeah. Loads, like, oh god, that was such a fun episode. And yeah, I nothing but good memories I have with having him on.
Like, if you have a problem with Cheeseburger,
Yeah,
you're a dickhead.
Yeah, you're a complete douchebag if you got a problem with him. oh wow, allergies. All right, now on to some random questions. Some wrestling related, some not.
Okay.
Some having absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far.
Okay. Bring it on.
First one that I like to lead off with. Craziest in-match moment for you?
I don't know if it's I can't think. Oh, well, so not craziest, but there's two that stick out. One of them's funny. One of them is really fucking funny. First in match, there's a match that I had with Dylan Mesh. It was a street fight, and the way that we had the camera layout at the time was we had the hard cam, we had the side cam, and we had an overhead cam. And the overhead cam, I guess, was over the entranceway, but it was almost like a secondary hard cam.
Yeah.
And there's a point where Dylan Mesh takes a cookie sheet and he hits it over my head, right? And then it flies out of his hands. Now, when it flies out of his hands,
oh no,
it flies up just underneath the secondary hard cam. So it looks like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Final Destination, but that's what it's akin to, where it's like, boop. If you were wearing 3D glasses, you would have been like, oh, Jesus. Like,
oh, God. I had a feeling that's where you were going with that when you started talking about the one cam, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, God, I can see where this is going.
And the only reason it's funny to me is because it didn't fuck up the camera or the TV or anything that was hanging above it. But me and him watching it in the back after the match, we're like, oh, shit, that's great. And the second one is a little bit of a longer story, but
okay.
My first match on a main show, it was the same night the QT tagged with me, but the premise of it, what set it up was I was winning a tag team battle royal and I didn't have a partner. So QT comes out, he's my partner. We have to do this whole thing where it's Plunkett the Ogre is the one guy's name, who I miss dearly, based out of Buffalo, who's trained by Colin Delaney. Fucking love that guy. And then the Red Scorpion. And if you've ever met or heard of the Red Scorpion, polarizing figure. Sounds like the dude, Mystical. Shake, baby. Watch yourself. That fucking guy. That's what he sounds like. That's how he talks. Scorpified. Right? Brother, I got everything scorpified. That man was a mental patient. He is. I say that with affection, mostly. So So what's supposed to happen is I'm the last guy in with these two. Scorpion's supposed to gorilla press me. I'm supposed to drop behind them, low bridge the ropes. They both tumble over. Yay, I win the match. So I'm waiting for the one person to do their spot with them, and I'm just muscling up this one dude in the corner. And behind me, I hear, "Come on, Twitch! Come on, Twitch! Put your back into it! Put your back into it!" And I go to say something like, "I'm trying, Scorpion," and then I feel a sharp pain, and then because Scorpion toe kicked me in the nuts.
Oh.
And I go down. The one guy gets thrown over by Scorpion, and there's one other person left, and I'm like, please take your fucking time because this hurts, right? Is in pain. It was a toe kick from behind, right?
Oh God.
So it was like
right.
and you see me in the hard hand just go and just go right down.
Like butt crack and balls. Like all in one.
No, like he didn't even get the crack. He just went right for the sack and skipped the crack, all sack.
Oh my God.
I paint a picture with words. Now so what had happened was they go right into that other spot. So now it's just me and Ogre and Scorpion. And Scorpion gets me up to gorilla press me, and I sandbag the shit out of him. Part of it was because I wasn't a good post in the beginning. I had lead in my ass. The other part of it being I'm still in pain from getting kicked. Toe kicked.
Toe kicked in the sack.
Yep. We do the spot, we low bridge. Get to the back, and Scorpion comes up to me and he goes, "You sandbagged me on." I'm like, "You kicked me in the nuts." And I'm new. Like, I'm new. I would never have this with anyone. Like, I would never say this to a vet. But I'm like, "You kicked me in the nuts, dude." And he goes, "Brother, there's only one way to make it look like you kicked someone in the nuts." And I stopped and I went, I can think of several ways to do that without doing it. That's all. I'm just saying, Scorpion. And QT comes up to me later. He goes, "You all right?" I went, "Hey, he kicked me in the nuts." He goes, "Yeah, what'd you expect?" That's fair. It's all that's I'm the asshole for thinking he wouldn't. I guess moral of that story. Yeah, those are the two things that come to mind in terms of just like funny, crazy things for me.
Oh yeah, no, those would definitely fit. I've been lucky enough to witness my fair share of crazy moments, including that one that we kind of talked about at the beginning with my whole thing going back to the whole nail board thing. Most of the time you see those if they're using a match, it's like, they like nothing really happens.
I appreciate the fact that they went for it. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. You there's so many times where they're just like, "Yeah," with it, right?
Yeah.
And fair play. I being a worker myself, I wouldn't want to fucking take that shit. So the fact that they went for it, good for them. Like stop. Don't complain that they never go. They fucking went for it.
Oh, God,
now it's too much for you. Well, don't start walking if you don't want it to turn into a sprint. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh man, all I remember is I was like I said, third row, and I see the board laying there, and then I see I'm not calling him Cope, but Adam Copeland. I see him going for he puts him into where he oh God, he's going to suplex him, and then I look down, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to suplex him on that thing. And then he does, and I'm like, I have a bad back already, but I watched that, I'm like, ow. My back hurts just watching that. Yeah, it was nuts.
Imagine taking a shower after that. Fuck.
Oh God. Literally, like I said, I was so close, and he came over by the corner, right by where I was at, and like right after they finally got the board out, because you could literally see the skin pulling as they were trying.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But like once they finally got it out and he was by the corner, and you could literally see the individual trickles of blood coming out of each one of the nail holes. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, that was nuts. Now, one thing that I know with just traveling to shows as a fan, but even more so when you're one of the wrestlers, there's lots of road trips, lots of long road trips. And one of the things that people often like to do to, entertain themselves when they're on road trips is playlists. What are a couple songs that would be on a road trip playlist for you?
Um. Leader of the Landslide by the Lumineers. Probably anything. Actually, anything from the Lumineers, anything from the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack.
Mm.
I just feel like that makes great road trip music.
Oh yeah.
Like, probably some podcasts too. It really depends.
Oh yeah.
It really depends on how far of a drive I have.
Yeah.
Because also I can I'll be honest, most of the time I'm driving by myself, so I can listen to whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
So like on the way to a show is, if it's just me, I'm listening to stuff to kind of get me into that mindset.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of rap, a lot of punk rock, so a lot of Kendrick Lamar, Dead Kennedys, LL Cool J, Eminem. But if it's just a straight up road trip kind of deal, then yeah, it's more of a summer playlist kind of deal. Springsteen.
Yeah.
Yeah, just music to look out the window to.
No, I totally understand you there.
Yeah.
Now, I like asking this next question because I don't know, it gets me thinking. Whenever like the lottery jackpots get to like some astronomical amount, and you'll always hear people say like, "Oh, you'd never be able to spend all that money." I was like, "You're telling me that you would give me what I like to call fuck it money, and you're telling me the goal is that I have to spend all of it? Watch me." But leading to the question, what is a couple things you would get if you had fuck it money?
So I would buy an arcade.
Yeah.
Or at least curate an arcade.
Yeah.
Essentially I would curate just an entire get a pool house, but that would just straight up just be the playroom. All of my action figure, all the action figures that I want and have, fucking a game room, like video games, a pool hall or like a pool table, and then I guess an in-home gym, and by that I mean like a punching bag and a stairmaster. And the weights I can still just go to Planet Fitness, but I'm very. The rest of it I would just put away toward it's I don't have to worry about putting together money for gear for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I can just, if I want gear, here's the money. Give me some new gear, please.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't have to. Oh, I can fly myself out and finance an entire trip. Then I can just do the wrestling for the love of the game. To be honest with you. Then I don't even need to worry about rates or anything. It's like, brother, I'm good. I would like to come and wrestle for you. You don't have to worry about my rate or flying me out. I will do that myself. I would like to, but let me wrestle. I guess it would just be like a highbrow version of a money mark. I guess. I mean, I don't have to win, but this is the list of people I would like to wrestle. You don't have to worry about bringing me out to wrestle,
Yeah.
I'll do that myself.
Gotcha.
And then I would just be really smart and put it in some offshore accounts or something. So then I don't blow it all. I have fuck it money for it's a rainy day fuck it fund.
I like it. Smart.
Also I'm buying like a Winnebago.
Ah.
So that way if road trip, baby.
Hey.
I can just live out of the van.
Hey.
It's
There's
just like
people that do
Spaceballs, except no man dog.
All right. Now we've talked a little bit about hobbies, but hobbies you have outside of wrestling.
I mean, aside from the usual like video games, I'm a musician as well. I play guitar. I like to paint or just do art stuff. Like this is something I'm working on right now. Along with a bunch of other masks that I've hand painted. Spirit Halloween hates to see me coming. I design my own gear. I can't make it, but I design it, come up with designs, and I'll send them to someone who knows how to actually make them. I love stand-up comedy. Thankfully, through wrestling, I've gotten to become friends with a good portion of comedians. I love comic books. Big movie guy, big TV guy. Love a good crossword puzzle every now and then. I guess I'm kind of I've spent, it's going to sound kind of sad, but I've gotten used to just being by myself too much. Now it's like whenever I hang out with people, it's like, what do you want to do? Well, we can just do what I usually do by myself, but you're just here with me. As we throw on a podcast, I play video games and we bullshit. Not always ideal, but yeah, I'd say those are my hobbies. Also, every now and like I like to longboard every now and then. I just sometimes I haven't found the need just because I get home from work and the gym and stuff, and I'm just gassed and tired, burnt out. But
yeah,
there's a park I go to, especially during lockdown. I would go to the park and I would just do 3 laps around. Like we have these two, I guess, blacktop paths.
Yeah.
One's bigger loop, one's smaller loop, and sometimes I'd do 2 of the big loops. Sometimes I would do just a few figure eights of just be on the longboard and just throw on a play. I have specific playlists for I have a longboarding playlist of this would be some. It's the same thing with a road trip playlist, except this is stuff to listen to while you're longboarding. So it's a lot of like pop punk.
Yeah.
A few rap songs, Lumineers. Also, I'm a big Seinfeld guy. In case you couldn't tell, behind me, above my bed is the Timeless Art of Seduction. Because George Costanza, I'm George Costanza without the narcissism. I just have his luck. I watch a lot of episodes of Seinfeld where George gets into a situation. I'm like, that's me.
Yeah. No,
maybe not the way he handles it, but the fact that it happens to him is like that. Yeah, it's me. That's me.
Oh yeah. No, I've showed you, some of my hobbies back here. I not so much of a musician. I know I saw about a gig you were having. Closest I've come to playing a guitar is when I went to a country show and I ended up getting pulled on stage and shotgun a beer with Dierks Bentley, the country singer. And well, that was weird. I don't know what the fuck happened there, but I actually still have the can.
Hell yeah.
And towards the end of that particular show, he points down at me and I'm like, oh, hey. But then he goes over, grabs the guitar from one of the guys in his band, motions for something to write with, long story short, I got the guitar hanging up on my wall back there.
Hell yeah. That's cool. That's cool. That's really cool. I'm not really like I don't want to say I'm not familiar with his music, but like from what I've heard, like seems like he puts on a really good show.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I'm not really a big like. There's exceptions for modern country, but I don't like a lot of modern country. You could put on a Morgan Wallen song and a Jason Aldean song, and I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference. I
there
like
there
people
is a
that
lot of that, yeah.
I like Chris Stapleton. You know why? Because I believe him when he sings. I'm not like you. Don't talk like that. None of this Swedish Chef from the Muppets kind of inflection with their like it sounds like you're constipated and you're
I
really trying
love
to
the
push out a
Swedish Chef.
shit. Like that's what it sounds like to me. But when Zach Bryan sings a song, when Tyler Childers, Noah Khan, John Moreland, when they sing a song, it gut punches you because you believe it, you feel it.
Oh yeah. Nope,
And a
I get
lot of
that.
these people, a lot of these country singers, it just all sounds the same.
There is a lot of that. That is for sure. All right, now next question. I have to ask this one because with the name of a show like I have, I feel weird if I didn't. Favorite drink, alcoholic or otherwise, because I like to tell people just because it says drinking at Moe's does not mean that it has to be alcoholic.
Um, so I'm straight edge. So yeah,
So
we're going on alcohol. Yeah.
I've had plenty of people on, like I said, that's part of why I started saying that was because, you know what, I've had plenty of people on that are, straight edge, recovering addicts, whatever it might be.
I I love a good black cherry soda,
Okay.
or a Dr Pepper.
No, I'm a Dr. Pepper fiend.
Oh, I'm gumping it with those Dr Peppers, brother.
Oh,
I must have had me about 15 Dr Peppers. Like that's that.
uh,
Um,
how does it feel being all American?
I gotta
I
pee.
got pay.
That's like I'm one of these people I can't do like I'm one of these infuriating people I can't have one favorite, but like Forrest Gump. If you ask me, it's Forrest Gump and Saving Private Ryan or like the go-to answers for me.
Oh,
Um,
for movies, yeah. But I've actually I've seen Forrest Gump. I don't know how many times,
same.
and like so many times that I've actually been to a handful of the Bubba Gump restaurants, and the servers will ask you trivia questions about the movie during different parts. I can literally answer their questions before they're done asking them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my wife and I actually went to the one at the Mall of America.
Okay, so there's one because I know there's one in Times Square, but there's one in Mall of America, and there's where are the other ones? Vegas, I'm
Um,
guessing would be one.
Probably the ones that I have personally been to were Mall of America, one on, and maybe I don't know if it's still there, but Navy Pier in Chicago,
Okay.
Long Beach, and Hawaii.
I'm surprised there's not one in like Nashville or
Oh, I'm sure there is.
because like it does seem like very like it's such a and this isn't meant to sound defamatory, but it's just such a tourist trap kind of thing. I feel like you go to and it's there's nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say no to going to Bubblegum Shrimp at least once. But it is this thing of like you go to New York. Oh yeah, we ate at the Bubblegum Shrimp Company. Not we didn't get like genuine. It's like yeah, you go there. It's such a novelty tourist trap
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I'm surprised. What I'm trying to say is I'm surprised it's not like in Vegas, like on the Strip or in like Nashville, where
I'm
a lot of
yeah.
people like to go now.
Yeah. You know what? I'm almost certain there probably is. I just haven't been to them.
Also, I'm surprised there's not one in Alabama somewhere. There better be one in Alabama.
Oh,
There better fucking be one in Greenbow, Alabama.
there
There better
better
be.
be somewhere near there. But when my wife and I went to the one in the Mall of America. I actually have this T-shirt as well because they actually have a T-shirt of it. But I also collect souvenir shot glasses everywhere I go.
Okay, cool.
Dr. Pepper one from the Bubba Gump restaurant.
Nice.
When she showed me that, I was like, "Oh my god, I have to have that."
um, one of my favorite lines in that movie. Well, there's two lines. One of them is when they get to Vietnam, and Lieutenant Dan says to Bubba, "You better tuck that thing in. Talk about his leg. Better
Oh,
tuck that thing in.
lip.
Gonna get it caught on some tripwire." And then the other one is first of all, the whole scene when Forrest, when he sees Lieutenant Dan and he's waving, but he's like, "Figured I'd get my sea legs." You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
You ain't got no legs.
I know. It's a figure of speech, you moron.
Or the one where they're in the military hospital and
Lieutenant Dan, ice cream.
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
All right. Well, last but not least here, because I could go on and on about Forrest Gump, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling?
It's not for everybody, and that's okay. And what I mean by it's not for everybody, I mean like wrestling is for everybody.
Yeah.
And being in the business can be for everybody. But you just gotta not be married to the idea always of being a wrestler, I guess.
Like the active in-ring competitor part.
Yeah,
of it,
you can still be in the business. You can still be in wrestling and not be a wrestler. And learn to nothing worth doing is going to be easy. Because if it was easy, everybody would do it.
True. Very true.
This business can be a fucking meat grinder. There's a lot of times where you're going to be questioning, whether or not this is for you.
Yeah.
Some people like the idea of being a wrestler more than they want to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of the fact that it's not always don't become a victim to your own expectations.
Gotcha.
Keep your head down, work your ass off. The right opportunities will come to you. And also sometimes they might not. But you got to find it's truly a blessing to be able to get the chance to follow your dreams. You know what I mean? Not all of us get to complete the dream. We don't all get to finish the story, but there's a lot of people that never even got the chance to chase it. So work your ass off, keep your head down, have fun. And it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. If you really, really want it.
Yeah.
I promise you it's worth it.
Most definitely. Great advice there. Now, before we go...
Also, wash your fucking gear.
Oh, yeah, no, very important. Very important. Don't want to forget that. But before we go, where can people find you social media-wise, so if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there?
Instagram at Lucas Twitch Disangro. Same thing with TikTok. I'm on Twitter at Lucas Twitch 318. Also, prowrestlingtees.com/Mr. Fanspastic. Buy one of my t-shirts, please. And I'm broke as fuck. That's the most honest pitch you're gonna get.
Yeah.
It's like in this economy, I'm living at home. I would like to not look at my checking account with bated breath every day. So, please. No. And follow Watch Monster Factory on Apple TV. Also follow the Monster Factory on Instagram at 4 Monster Factory, the number 4 Monster Factory.
Definitely.
And yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode and give me a follow and
Definitely.
Yeah.
We'll get
See you back at the house. I don't know.
We'll get all of that in the description. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me tonight. It was an absolute pleasure.
Likewise. And thank you for reaching out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I wish you well with everything Monster Factory and beyond. I look forward to keeping up with you.
Godspeed.
Oh, my issue with this fucking button.
God fucking damn it.
God damn fucking button.